Hello, welcome to Armored Warfare with Gorlans Army. My name is Ralks, and today I will be reviewing the T-80 Soviet main battle tank from the Murat-Shishkin Eastern European main battle tank line. Now, things to note about the T-80 is it's very fast, very maneuverable. It's got about 45 degrees of turret traverse stock. When you get it upgraded with some retrofits, it can be increased to about 52 degrees per second. If we check on the panel here, we can see that it's actually at 47 degrees. A little wrong there. The reload time is pretty good at 8.7 seconds. The accuracy spread with the chrome barrel lining Mark 1 is 0.11, which is average for this tier, and the targeting time is 2.61 seconds. Along with that, we have 7 degrees of gun depression, which is unprecedented in the Eastern main battle tank line, aside from maybe the T-54. I think the T-54... Yeah, the T-54 has 9 degrees of gun depression, while the T-80 has 7. So this thing has the best gun depression in this this tank line, aside from the T-54 Tier 2. So good things about the T-80 main battle tank is its frontal turret is very tough, the upper hull is very tough, it's got the highest penetrating, highest alpha gun of its tier. Very quick, very mobile. Bad things are it's got a weak spot right there, that driver's hatch. You can also pen the hatches up here, but they'll only do half damage as they are not critical parts of the tank. The lower plate is weaker than the upper plate, though it still takes a decently penetrating gun to get through there. It won't be pinned by HE or anything. Sides are abysmally armored, as well as the back and rear of the tank, as are all main battle tanks. So you really want to face your opponents head on in this. Now, because it has that little bit of gun depression over the other Soviet MBTs, that means you can hide this plate more creatively, and you can increase the angle on this upper plate, which makes it harder to penetrate this viewport, which is what most people are going to go for. They're going to aim for this viewport right here and try to knock it out. Some people will try to go for your turret ring, but that's not really a big target. In fact, if we bring it up the armor here, you can see it's got 405 millimeters of frontal turret armor. It's going to be very difficult to get through. That's effective armor, not just how thick it is. This is effective armor here. The front of the hull, 372 millimeters, still good. Side of the turret is 248, and you can see the side of the hull just gets abysmally low at 84 millimeters. I mean, you can't side scrape in this tank. If you have it anything at like an angle even like that, they're probably going to penetrate the side of the tank, unless it's with heat. If you are fighting one of these things, do not fire heat at the sides right here. The spaced armor on the side will just eat it right up. You want to be firing AP at main battle tanks all the way, unless you have a rear shot. If you have a rear shot, go ahead and fire the heat. Now, I'm going to do 2 performance tests for the T-80. One of them will be in PvE, and the other one will be in PvP. And we're going to go ahead and test out its weapons. Another thing to note is the ammo for this tank is very interesting, in my opinion. You have some really good heat with a massive alpha of 713. You have your AP rounds, and you have missiles. You do not get HE on this, which means if you're stuck up against an M1 Abrams and you can't pen it frontally, if you don't have this ammo, you're not going to... If you don't have this ammo, and if you don't have the advanced MRS Mark II, you will not be able to punch through the frontal hull of an Abrams, and you will not be able to damage it at all, so you're going to be in a lot of trouble. On the other hand, if you do have the advanced MRS, and you do have the top AP ammo, and you can hit the M1 Abrams at a fairly flat angle in the front, then you should penetrate almost every time. My personal thoughts on this tank, one of my favorites. It's very, very mobile. You'll see that in the stress testing that's coming up. It probably has some of the best mobility out of main battle tanks. It's got a really good gun, enough frontal turret armor to go hold down and still bounce shots, and that's why I like it. It's a little bit of a glass cannon. Again, higher tier tanks are not going to care about your armor. They're just going to go right through it like it's butter. But if you play this thing right, it can be an incredible machine to play in with these retrofits. You have to get the chrome barrel, because if you don't get the chrome barrel lining, then you're going to suffer from horrendously bad accuracy, and it'll just miss everything, which is, you know, your bread and butter in the T-series. Is all the guns are fairly inaccurate and take a fairly long time to aim. So the retrofits I would recommend are definitely the chrome barrel lining for the T-80. Also for the gun is the advanced MRS Mark II, because the accuracy, we've already buffed the accuracy. The reload on this one wasn't actually too bad. My current reload is 8.7 seconds, which is a second longer than the Challenger 1, which is stock Challenger 1, which is pretty good. But that also says that my crew has been upgraded to increase my aim speed, which helps a lot with that. So we're going to go ahead and take this thing out into a couple battles. Alright, welcome to the PvE T80 stress test. Here we are on mission Dire Wolf, where we have to defend 3 points, take down a roadblock, and then we win if the enemy doesn't cap. And again, this is the PvE stress test, so we're going to see how well this tank does in PvE. Some tanks do better than others. I've noticed that main battle tanks in general seem to do the best in PvE missions, although you can do well in light tanks, they're just harder to do well in. Simply because everything spawns everywhere and you never know if something's going to pop right behind you and do a massive amount of damage before you even know it's there. Our Leo 2 AV is going for the second objective, which is fine by me. And we'll take up a position here and camp the spawn pretty much. Now the difference is between PvP and PvE is that in PvE you have enemies that spawn that could spawn right behind you. In PvP that never happens. You don't have to worry about enemies spawning out of nowhere. You always know exactly where they're going to come from, and that's nice in PvP. In PvE they can spawn just about anywhere. So it's not uncommon in PvE for you to run into an enemy that just comes out of nowhere. And then you're like, oh crap, that guy came out of nowhere and dealt a massive amount of damage to my backside. That's okay then. Pretty normal here in PvE. Some of the spawn locations are set, so if you know where they're at, you can minimize damage. But I've still had enemies spawn on top of me every now and again. There we go. And you'll notice that I'm not sitting very still in this tank. I'm wiggling a lot. And that's because there's the weak spot I was talking about in the garage review on the front of the hull. And when you're auto-aiming at the tank, there's a pretty good chance that they'll hit that weak spot. And I don't want them to hit that weak spot, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. Nice damage roll there, 931. About 100 damage above this, what should I call it? Paper Alpha? I'll call it the Paper Alpha. What the gun has on paper. Okay, and we got a Terminator behind us. Oh, missed the weak spot there. Luckily our Bradley is going to town on him. I really don't like fighting these Terminators. They're annoying. Alright, he's down. You'll notice that when I shot it in the turret, it wasn't doing a massive amount of damage, and that's simply because the turret's not a critical part on the tank, so it does less damage. And, you know, on normal tanks, the turret is a very critical part, but on the Terminator, it's an unmanned turret, and so that makes it not critical. And so you do about half to a quarter of the damage you'd normally do hitting the turret or hatch of a tank. This is the second point we have to protect. We're going to have some spawns on the left here. Yep, there he is, Superior Stingray. Let's see if we can get some shots into this guy before anything else pops up. There we go. The Bradley have the rest of them. But since we just got shot at from over here, take some cover. That was a very good choice. That's an M1A1. Now, in PvE, the tanks are usually weaker than they are in PvP. And so that M1A1 up here probably has less armor than the normal one. There we go. Yeah, it has way less armor. My gun would normally never be able to go through the front of an M1A1 like that. You can see me keeping these cover between us because his gun is still nasty. There we go.
Identify target.
And yep, there's that behind spawn I was talking about earlier. Let's see, what is that? A warrior up there? Yeah, we'll let him come to us. Keep the cover to minimize damage. I mean, this is PvE, and the bots aren't incredibly intelligent. There's just a lot of them. Big problem comes when you just take damage for unnecessary reasons. You don't want to be taking damage when you don't have to, in any game mode. There's always the chance that somebody's going to derp up, and you're going to have to carry the game, and if you just take unnecessary damage, then you're going to be unable to carry the game at the end. Just see one area, and it looks like the Stingray is going to come around, so we're going to let him come around. Now we got this area to deal with, and because we're faster than he is, we're going to rush him. He just fired, so pop one into his side, keep ahead of his turret, and let somebody else finish him off. And again, this is how you want to be playing the T80 as a support tank. You should not be heavy brawling with this. I'll say support brawling. And the difference is heavy brawling is when you are in the enemy's face and just, you know, bouncing all the shots. This tank won't do that because everybody knows where to shoot it, and it will take full damage from a lot of tanks. However, it can support brawl, which is being right behind tanks like the M1A1 and doing damage to opponents, pretty much increasing the DPM put out of the people in that area. And if you look carefully there, I hit a weak spot on a Terminator. In the front of the turret, there's this little viewport. If you can hit, it's very, very devastating to them. He's going to turn his front armor towards me. It's that little hatch right there. Did you guys see it? I hope you guys saw it. Try to hit it again. Nailed it. Alright, so they got a Leo 285. How much? He's on high health, so we're going to come up and get in a sniper position to support these other two tanks because they're already out there. The XM1 is probably more well armored than we are. And the M2 Bradley is far enough away that he's not going to aggro the 285. Right in the booty there. Okay, shots coming in from the right. There's an M2 Bradley. Oh crap, what hit me, what hit me, what hit me? Okay, there's also a T80 down there. Yeah, the T80 is the most dangerous one. Going to repair the turret. And if I'd been taking unnecessary damage up to this point in the game, I might not have been able to bounce that shot. Or might not have been able to take it. I mean, it is a big gun. So always take cover when you can, especially when you're reloading. When you're about done, about 1 second, then you can start popping out. Take your shot, but until you're that far reloaded, just sit behind cover so they cannot damage you. Do not take unnecessary damage. That also means if you have an ally with less health than you and they're about to get shot, you take the hit for them. If you're able to, if it's feasible at the time. I mean, if you're just gonna get killed trying to save them, then they're done. Terminator is in a really good spot for cover. Take that. Side of the Leopard 2's turret there. And normally that shot would have penetrated with a normal Leopard 2A5 driver or even Leopard 2 driver because they know how to hit the lower plate on this thing. The bots don't, they only use auto aim. So by staying in cover like this, you make yourself practically invincible to them. Alright, and that might have been everybody. We're just going to go and see if there's any mop-up left to do. Might want to pick up some extra damage just to get that little more XP and credits. The credits is the big thing I'm worried about because PvE does not make a lot. And like the PvP grind is for credits. The PvE grind is for experience. At least he did before I get to him. Alright, well I spotted him, so that means I get all that delicious spotting damage, which actually nets you quite a bit of experience in Armored Warfare in general. Is just spotting damage just gets you so much credits and XP. And kills only multiply that. Kills only multiply the amount of experience you get from damage done. So if you do no damage but get like, or do 1 damage and get 1 kill, then you're only going to get like 2 XP. Alright, successful PvE mission completed. We're going to go ahead, take a look at the post-battle results screen, and then we will be going into the PvP T80 battle test. Just gotta wait on those loading screens. Alright, here we are, post-battle results screen for Operation Dire Wolf. Got the blue star, which means we netted the highest experience on our team, and the shooter award for hitting 80 out of 20 shots, 80% out of 20 shots. Did 14,000 damage, really good result there. We are the highest tier tank, so that's expected. Netted 35,000 credits, which is, it's okay for PvE. I didn't have to use my field maintenance kit, which helped a lot. And you can see that spot damage there coming in one of the 3 major contributions you did. You get the experience you did. And this will conclude the PvE stress test. Next will be the PvP T80 battle test. Alright, welcome to the PvP stress test of the T80 Russian main battle tank. Here on Ghost Field. Yep, Ghost Field. And it looks like our guys are going to push down south. I'm going to try to hold north. I think it's a good idea. There's enough people that if they go down south, I can hold them off. Alright, looks like. You know what? Heck with this. I'm going south with everybody else. When you have a lemming train this size, you go with the lemming train or you will die alone in a hole. So it looks like our one guy, our Weasel, is going to spot up there. Good job for him. He can get out of there before he gets hit. And that's really good. He'll spot a fast cap, and if that's the case, then we'll come back and be able to defend it. It looks like he's going to have a lot of 600 with him to delay as much as they can before they get back in the cap, to give us as much time as possible. Now, something interesting I've noticed about this map is that the spawns, if you go down south, are slightly closer to each other than going around north, and I just find that interesting. Also, you can see us outstripping the Challenger there, which is probably the slowest main battle tank. I haven't tried out the Leopard 2 yet, but the Challenger is definitely one of the slower ones. And as you can see, we're going... Oh my goodness, this is going to be a mess. Gotta get some cover here. That's not good, that's not good, that's not good. Go, 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 go. Yes, okay, we're solid. Almost died miserably. Well, this is going to be an interesting fight. This usually doesn't happen. This is going to be a massacre for one team or the other. We're just going to stay over here and paddle shots on these guys to prevent them from moving up on our other allies.
Identify.
Looks like somebody is firing HEP, that Stingray up there.
Identify. Go ahead. They hit our track.
Angle a little more effectively. If we get on a downslope, we should be able to bounce and deny shots at our lower plate with better efficiency. This Leopard 280 really wants some.
Identify target.
Target eliminated.
Sweet, we've been eliminated one of their Stingrays, which is very good. Bounce some return fire. We're going to go for the XM8 if I can get a shot in there. Nicely done. Perfect, perfect, perfect. If we could nail the T80, that'd be really good, but I'm worried about this Challenger. He knows what he's doing, but he seems to be bouncing as long as I keep on the move. He's firing an autoloader over there. Probably the BMD4 trying to stop me. Nice shot into the M1 there. And you can just see how bouncy this tank is if you keep it moving and keep the front pointed towards whatever's shooting at you. It's the BMD4 there, unfortunately. Going to swing out and get the M1A1. Just the M1, not an A1. Alright, and it looks like we're safe to push. Or just fire at range and completely wreck him. As long as we're not getting wrecked, but he hit us with a shot, so we're going to pull in. Don't want to give him my side just yet. I want him to fire. He's fired. Now we can give him the side because he can't shoot it, and we'll push this XM1 out of here with the Challenger. Now the XM1 there for a good bit of damage. And we get the Challenger side. Well, if you didn't pull in front of our shot, we'd be able to get a side shot. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, apparently you can shoot through dead tanks. That's interesting. Okay, he's down. Just one more Challenger to go, and we've got a solid victory. It was a complete storm, but I hope that I was in a good enough position to show you just how good the armor can perform if you keep moving. If I had stopped you can see the Challenger was trying to hit me in my viewport. He would have hit me there if I had stopped moving at any time. So you've got to keep going backwards and forwards just to deny people shots at your viewport. And as long as you do that, and they don't hit your lower plate, you're pretty solidly set. We did a nice 4,700 damage in that game, which I will call a very good result. Poor XM1, pretty upset about that. I can't say as I blame him, losing 10-0. Alright, we'll take a look at the post-battle results, and then that will be it for the T80 review. I hope it has been helpful to everybody else. Let me know what tanks you want reviewed in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do about that. I have a lot of tanks, and I'll try to get the ones you guys want reviewed. Alright, here we can see we did 4,780 damage, 6 spotted, 4 assists, made 169,000 credits net gross. I think that's gross, not net. Then we made 3,444 experience. If we come here to performance, we'll see what we damaged, who we spotted, and what we hurt. And we did pretty good there. Teams, we're 4th overall. If we sort it by damage, we're top of the team. But 4th overall because these guys were spotting more. They were doing more assist damage, which makes sense. And then we can see that our net total was 145,000 credits, and of course the experience doesn't change. The shells are kind of expensive in this, because we only fired 11 shots and it cost us 18,000 credits, but as you can see we can make it back quite easy. Final thoughts, yes, the T80 is one of my favorite tanks, although it is kind of a specialty tank, a little bit of a glass cannon. If you keep moving back and forth, people will bounce all sorts of shots off of here trying to hit this plate, bounce all sorts of shots off your turret trying to hit in there. The side armor on the turret, just as a final note, I believe is quite thick. Yeah, 240 millimeters thick, and it's rounded, so you're okay to show the side of your turret to targets if you have to. I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time, but like that Challenger I had in front of me, I couldn't penetrate him from the front, so I went for targets that I could penetrate, and it worked out fine for me. As long as you don't show them your side and don't give them easy shots at your lower hole and viewport, you'll do fine. And this is Ralks signing out.